Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. All right, so today I have John Hilley on the line, and he is founder of 1031 Specialist. John, welcome to the show.
So good to be here. Thanks for having me, Adam.
All right, John, so we got a lot to talk about today. So 1031, why it's a powerful tool for real estate investors, what they need to know. So we're going to get into that and more. And just get us kicked off here, I see the title founder. Were you always an entrepreneur, or where did that begin for you?
So I started my career at a Wall Street firm called Goldman Sachs, and then became a buy-side investor doing fundamental research on public companies. And my mentor, Goldman, then left and started a family office. So I was running research there. And about 13 years ago, I decided, I had enough on the investing side. I wanted to become an operator. So some of the companies we invested in, I became the CFO and then CEO in. And the last one I sold, had some time off to think about what was next, found this really strange niche in real estate, which we're going to talk about today. This is my firm, and launched 1031 Specialists about 27 months ago now.
Wow, what a story. What was it like to, go off and get the company launched? We'll get into the product and all that first, or afterwards, of course, but I'm just curious. Now you're 24 months in, couple years in, basically. What's that like?
It's ups and downs, peaks and valleys, but, if you can sort of not feel the highs and not feel the low lows, and draw a line straight through, it's up and to the right for us. And we're really thrilled with the progress that we're making, the investors that we're helping. And really what we do at the core, we don't actually sell anything, okay? Mm-hmm. We are here to spread the message about why every real estate investor should explore a 1031 exchange and help them, consult with them. And if they want to do a 1031 exchange, guess what? They are required to hire a qualified intermediary to do that work. And that's my firm. That's what we do. So what I think about is we're in the business of delivering joy to people because we are just delivering tax savings. We're sort of this weird required function in a real estate transaction if you want to get the tax benefit. And it's an easy business to run and sell because every client is thrilled to be working with us.
What made you fall in love with this niche? A lot of things you could have done, obviously, when you're transitioning and launching a business. Why this niche? Why now? What made you feel like this is the one where you wanted to put, dedicate time and energy to? What was so attractive about the space to you?
This, as I've described to a Real Deal reporter, this is the strangest and smallest niche in commercial real estate that exists. And even the people that have been in and around transactions for 10, 20 years aren't that familiar with qualified intermediaries. And so when I started poking around in this category, what struck me is there's only 222 firms that exist in this entire country, and there are less than 1,000 humans between admin, sales, and execs that work in this industry that I'm in. And despite the tiny size, there is today $100 billion that flows through qualified intermediary hands each year. And so you have this dynamic where you've got this really tiny industry that is exposed to this disproportionately large amount of client funds. And I just thought that was really interesting. And then you sort of dig a layer deeper and you peel back the onion. And the profile of a qualified intermediary firm owner is 65 years old, been doing this for 35 years, and is seeking retirement and doesn't use any technology in their business. And so you look deeper and deeper, and those dynamics just are hard to find in other places. And I just told myself, if I can't be successful building and scaling a business in this category, then the problem is me. Right. And so that is what struck me about this. And I said, I'm doing this. And, my last firm was not in this industry. I raised $150 million for it. And, a lot of the job was a board reporting job. And here I started this business with my own nickels and didn't until very recently take some outside investor capital. So it's a very different dynamic, much smaller industry, but just really fascinating kind of market industry structure.
Yeah, that's amazing. I know what obviously a 1031 is, which we'll get into right now because I don't want to assume everybody listening to this does, but I had no idea that it was that small amount of hands, just because since anybody that's essentially purchasing real estate maybe has the opportunity to do one or at least explore it, I would have thought it was a bigger industry. That you're right, that is an extremely small niche to have that many billions running through. That's interesting. I had no idea. Man, this is why I love podcasting, John. Learn something new every day. I'm in. So let's take it a layer deeper. Let's start kind of basic, just for some of those that are out there listening that maybe haven't explored or thought of it. Then we can go deeper. But just plainly speaking, explain a 1031.
So you own an investment property, okay? Not the home you live in or a home you visit all summer, but it's an investment property, okay? So it's not a personal use property, but investment property. You want to sell this property. You have one of two choices. You can sell and pay up to 40% of your gains to the U.S. government, or B, you can do a 1031 exchange and defer all of those taxes. And it is an absolute free lunch that the U.S. government gives to you and allows you to do this, okay? And the thing about 1031 exchanges is these rules have been around for more than 100 years. And so this is not a new tool. And what most people are surprised at is when they go and sell their property, they think, oh, I'm just going to pay the 15 or 20%, federal capital gains taxes. Well, that's just one of 4 layers of tax that are going to come and hit you. There's the federal capital gains, there's state, which in California is 13.3%. There's this thing called net investment income tax. And then finally, the one most people forget is depreciation recapture. So the point is all of those 4 layers of tax are up to 40%, and you can defer all of them in a 1031 exchange. And so what does that allow you to do? It allows you to sell your investment property, swap into a better, more productive investment property and defer those taxes and compound your wealth much faster because you're putting more money to work. So it's a really wonderful tool. I think it's one of the most powerful and often misunderstood tools in real estate investing.
Let's take a layer deeper, and you can do this over again, can't you? Or how does that piece of it work? So you did it once, and then now, X amount of years later, let's go a little bit deeper.
Yeah, so let's assume you've chosen to do a 1031 exchange, okay? I think let me just simplify that when you do a 1031 exchange, it's really just like any other real estate transaction you've done with just a couple of key exceptions, okay? First one is you have to hire a firm like mine called a qualified intermediary. Okay, so you hire 1031 specialists. We primarily consult with our clients. We produce the documentation per the IRS rules that gets you the tax benefit. And then the third thing is we hold on to your funds during the exchange period, okay? Because that's another key IRS requirement. So you hire the qualified intermediary, your sale closes, the QI accepts those funds, and you hit 2 key deadlines, which is the 45 DID period. So you've got 45 days to figure out what you want to buy next. And then 135 days after day 45, so it's 180 days total, you have to successfully purchase one or more of the properties you identified. So if you hire a QI, hit those 2 key deadlines, and close on a different investment property, you'll have deferred all of those taxes.
Yeah. And now this always is so curious to me. Why don't people do these? Is it just that they don't know they exist? Why do you find that people don't do these? What's the challenge once you explain this to someone?
So 1 in 7 commercial real estate transactions is 1031 today. This was one thing that really struck me as surprising when I was looking at the industry. I said, well, why is that?
Yeah.
This is a complete no-brainer for people to explore.
That's what I mean. I mean, obviously there'd be the one-off, right? We get that. Okay, they need the money for something, right? Something else other than real estate. But if they're going to go buy more real estate, shed some light for me, John.
I have a hypothesis. It's been confirmed by the operations of this business, but I don't know if it's a complete answer. But the hypothesis going in is you've got 4 big companies that dominate this qualified intermediary market. Okay, they own 80% of the market, and they're all subsidiaries of publicly traded companies. And they basically, I'm rounding here, but they spend $0 on marketing. And so I think so much of this has been delivered. It's
truly an education piece.
It's really just about education. It's about colonizing the minds of real estate.
Get out of here. So that's almost like back in the day, just the concept of maybe having a tax deferred account, like a 401k. At one point in the market, that had to be taught to people what that actually meant and why to participate or why not to. Now that's a little bit more complicated, though. You could argue different ways depending on what you're doing, right? But in this case, if you're going to buy more real estate, wow, continue, please. You're blowing my mind with this hypothesis, but I'm bought in. Go ahead.
So we talk to professionals in the industry all the time. And, one of the big 4, for example, a business development employee left because they said, well, they're not paying $400 for me to go in offices and buy lunch for brokers anymore. And so there's just, I think, approach writ large in the industry that this is just a transaction and, we're attached to a title company. We're going to get the deal flow anyway. So we're not really going to try that much. And the definition of success for me, if 1031 specialist is successful in 10 years, it will be that you go from 1 in 7 transactions that has a 1031 to something more like 1 in 2. And so I think we can 3x the size of this market just by getting in front of people without any transaction volume increasing. We're already at a kind of a nadir. There's been transaction volumes are low across the board. But yeah, there's a huge opportunity for education here. And that's part of the work we are doing with NAR. We were invited to this NAR Reach Scale Up program and that are doing that right now. And so if we can just tell the people at the tip of the spear of transactions, which are primarily commercial brokers and realtors, if we can tell them, look, ask 3 questions at your listing appointment. Those 3 questions will start the exploration for an investor around a 1031 exchange, and their eyes will be wide open about, wow, this really is a big benefit for me. So that's what we're trying to do, and that's the goal.
Wow, I'm just sitting here thinking about this, like the amount of transactions that are already being done. So now what that looks like and the potential for that growth in this small of an industry that's not using technology, man, I'm excited about what you're doing, John.
No, thank you. Yeah, it's been fun, and certainly there's so much green space to explore with this. But really, it's sort of easy. Like I said, where brokers are happy to talk to us because we do a bunch of great stuff and free stuff for them. We make them look really good in front of their clients. Their clients are getting the help they need, and they're deferring their taxes. It's kind of a situation where like everybody can be a winner, and that's a really interesting dynamic.
And just taking a step further, I mean, you're doing this nationwide, right? Like, just want to hit some of the basics on like who's a good fit to work with you and your team. Maybe go through some of that piece.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our clients exist from Florida to New York to Hawaii and everywhere in between. And I think what people are surprised about is, so yes, we work nationwide, but people are surprised because they hear these words like-kind exchange and think they have to go from a single-family rental in San Antonio to another single-family rental in San Antonio. And that is one of the biggest misconceptions out there. You can go from a short-term rental to raw land, to an office building, to a strip mall, to basically anything that's investment property. And you can do that anywhere in the country. And so your options are almost infinite when it comes to doing a 1031 exchange. You can even swap into oil and gas rights if you wanted to. And so the clients are diverse across the country. Our work is everywhere, and the opportunities for reinvestment are also everywhere.
Man, I love this. This is great news, and I'm much more educated about this subject. I knew what it was, but I had no idea the mechanics of what you're talking about, like whether it's the size of the industry, the amount of individuals that I look at it, glass half full, glass half empty. I'll say the amount of people that aren't doing it that could be benefiting from it and maybe are doing it out of just a lack of knowledge. And what I like about it, like you said, it's over 100 years old, like this concept. It's not like something new. So this isn't, you're not creating new antiques, right? Like this is already there. And it's like accepted. There's a full industry and billions of dollars transacting this way. And people that are in the know are benefiting from this. People that are in the know that maybe could be benefiting and should be, hopefully they're listening to this podcast and we're helping them out on that. So through you, of course, John. That being said, how do people follow up? How do they connect with your team? How do they learn more?
Yeah, so I think the best way is go to 1031 specialists with an S@the-end.com. And just reach out through the website. You can, of course, call us at 631-GET-1031. So that's 631-438-1031. And you can talk to me at any point. And we're here to help. We're here to consult and advise. And yeah, if you decide to do a 1031 and you decide to hire my firm, well, we'll give you your money back if you're not successful at it. So really is kind of risk-free for clients to just try to do a 1031 exchange. And if you don't end up buying something because due diligence falls through, whatever, well, guess what? There's no money out of your pocket. So we're trying to make it easy for more people to explore this as a topic and take advantage of what is a really interesting piece of the tax code.
Amazing. For everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes so you can just click on the link, head right on over and check out John and his team. And speaking to the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way in your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And John, thanks again for coming on the show.
It was a pleasure. Thanks, Adam.